better rotation among the projected ones in the AL Central. So we look at the Guardian. So I'm gonna start with the Guardians, and then I'm gonna throw it to you guys, and then you tell me, yay or jam it or slam it, if you will, or we'll give it the ranking. You'll give it the ranking, okay? So Cleveland's rotation: Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Cal Quantrill, Aaron Savali, and Zach Plesac.
Probably number one, I'd say.
Number one?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm curious, though, outside of those five guys, who do they have depth-wise? Because I feel like we've gotten to the point where you kind of have to have like a 7-8 man rotation and have backup options. I know they have like Logan Allen, a lefty, but not really sure who else they have outside of those five guys.
Oh, they have Joey Cantrillo, who they got from San Diego, who's pretty good.
And they got that guy they drafted from East Carolina too, right? Gavin Williams. Don't they have him?
Gavin Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
They also got
they've
Connor
got
Connor Plinkington, whatever the guy's name is.
Oh, Connor Pilkington. Yes.
They'll create one. They just kind of have a little laboratory, like a meth lab, where they crank out these starting pitchers.
They do. It's at Tanner Beebe, right? I think his name is. I think that's like one of their. He's like the new Shane Bieber. They got him. He was a control guy, and now he's throwing like 7 miles an hour harder. So, yeah, I view that even before we talked about this. I thought that was the best rotation in the Central.
The Royals coming in. So I'm gonna give you the Royals rotation, and you tell me jam it or slam it. So Zach Greinke, Jordan Lyles, Brady Singer, Ryan Yarbrough, and Brad Keller.
Worst rotation in the American League. I think there's a debate to be had. What maybe the Athletics, but what other team has a worse rotation than that?
I hesitate to say worst because I think Yarbrough's decent. I think Keller could be a league average guy. You know, Singer still has some upside, I gotta believe. I think it's not an inspiring bunch. What I think the big story there is that the 2018 draft and the 2019 draft were supposed to really change the pitching status of the Royals. And they were hoping that group would come together as an elite bunch, and really, by and large, it has not to this point.
The everybody else, the Chris Bubich, the Jackson Kowar, Daniel Lynch. There's another Florida guy there, I thought, but yeah, I mean,
Asa Lacy.
Yeah, Asa Lacy. Yeah, that's a disaster. Singer took a pretty good step forward last year, I think. After the first couple months of the season, he
did.
And I've seen these rumors about Brad Keller like doing some things differently this spring, like adding new pitches, and he looks a lot better. So I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if they're not good, but they might be a little bit sneaky decent, if you will. I haven't sat down and looked at every rotation in the American League, but I don't know. It's probably, I probably still would put it the worst in the division, but I don't think it's that far behind the Tigers, to be honest.
Yeah.
Read Chicago's to me. What is Chicago's?
Chicago. So Chicago's is Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Tiger Killer, Mike Clevenger, and Michael Kopech. Thank you. And then in terms of their depth wise, the White Sox are screwed after that because their minor league system is kind of barren. So guys like AJ Alexy, Jonathan Stryver, Davis Martin, and then they have a bunch of non-roster guys they have invited. But the White Sox are pretty thin outside of that. I mean, and the guys they did bring in Alexy from the Dodgers. I don't know. The White Sox to me are one injury away from being one of the worst rotations in the division. I really believe that because it's that thin. Because if something happens, if you look at something, if something happens to Lance Lynn, they're hosed. And Dylan Cease, same thing. It's just they don't have enough depth. And I think the Royals at least have enough arms. So to me, I think the Royals. I think the White Sox has the worst. I'll say it. The White Sox have are tied with the Tigers, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But go ahead.
Well, especially Giolito, he's shown he can put up a ERA north of 5 for a full season. He just did it a couple of years ago. So he could go either way. So he's not exactly a Rock of Gibraltar for them either.
Cease was damn near a Cy Young last year. He took a big step forward. He's really good. Although he got he hasn't been good so far in the spring. I think the Royals have been destroying him in spring trading. I don't know. Like, it's interesting. That might be the best top 3 of any rotation, though, in the division.
Yeah.
Like, Lance Lynn has been a good pitcher for a long time. Giolito has been up and down a lot, but he was close to a Cy Young contender a couple of years ago too. So I don't know, but yeah, I think you're absolutely dead nuts accurate on the depth. Like, AJ Alexy was an interesting arm from the Dodgers in the Yu Darvish trade, like 6 years ago or 5 years ago, and went to Texas, and he's always had an interesting arm, but hasn't been a good pitcher. And beyond that, like you mentioned, Jonathan Stever, I think, like just a bunch of randos. So yeah.
And what is Minnesota coming at us with?
All right, okay, let's stop for a moment before we get to Minnesota. So right now, Cleveland is number one rotation, no question about it. Number 2, yeah, I think number 2 would be. You know what? Let's look at number 2. Number 2 would probably be the Twins because of Pablo Lopez. If it wasn't for the Pablo Lopez trade, I would not put him in there. But so they have Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, Tyler Miley, and Ken. Yeah, thank you. As your 5th starter. So it's a rotation that's. I mean, Sonny Gray. You don't know what to expect from Sonny Gray, but Pablo Lopez, I think coming over from the National League is a big help. And I know it doesn't really matter like it used to, but honestly, I would put Minnesota as a second best because they have at least with their, I think that their pitching, the rotation's going to be, I understand why it could be suspect, but I think that in the division alone, I mean, the division's bad. Let's just, let's not mince words here, but I'm going to put Minnesota at number 2. I'm going to put, this is my personal 5, so whatever you want to say is fine. I don't care. Number 3, I put. You guys can laugh at me. Number 3, I'm gonna put the Royals. White Sox number 4, Tigers number 5.
For me, the Guardians are 1, and then I think it's a debate between the Twins and White Sox. But I think you just trust the Twins a little bit more. There is still some injury concern with them. Sonny Gray struggled to stay healthy. Maeda hasn't been healthy for a couple years. I believe they have Chris Paddock, who I'm not sure if he's going to miss most of the season. I know he got extended, but I think he's hurt right now. I think the White Sox top-end talent, they have the best top-end pitching talent in the division. Like you said, Dylan Cease is a Cy Young level pitcher. Giolito, I think Kopech could be that. One guy I'm curious about is Garrett Crochet. I know he missed all of last year. I don't know if he'll be back this year. I don't know how much you can really expect from him, but maybe they could stick him in the back end of the rotation. I'll probably have to go with the Twins. I trust the Twins a little more. I think Joe Ryan has a big season. So I'll do the White Sox 3. In terms of the Tigers and Royals, I think the Tigers have the most pitching depth out of any team in the division. And I know they don't have that guy that threw 100 innings last year, but I think they have so many quality guys that I think a couple of them are going to have to hit. And I just think for the Royals, their pitching's been so bad, I'm just going to have to see it to believe it. Brad Keller has had an ERA over 5 the last 2 years. Daniel Lynch had an ERA over 5. I do like Brady Singer a lot, but I don't really have a lot of faith in them. So I'm going to put the Tigers 4 and then the Royals 5.